Hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you for the Miles Franklin channel. And today a quick video on the Federal Reserve actually noticing the growing debt loads. Jerome Powell says he is very worried about the growing amount of US debt, which certainly finally something I agree with a central banker about because yeah, it's incredible. As you can see here, total US debt is about 21.9 trillion. And to put that in perspective, when the second George Bush came into office in 2000 or 2001, the public debt back then was 5 trillion. He doubled that to 10 trillion. Obama doubled it to 20. And now that Trump is in there, we still don't hear anything about cuts, but the latest budget projections just talk about when we're going to hit 30 trillion. So it's interesting to see that the Federal Reserve is finally taking note of what's happening and is concerned. Powell said, I'm very worried about it from the Fed standpoint. We're really looking at a business cycle length. That's our frame of reference. I love the Fed speak, whatever some of these things actually mean, but then mentions it's a long run issue that we definitely need to face and ultimately we'll have no choice but to face. That part I agree with. The only unfortunate thing is that they're not doing anything to face it. In fact, now the Fed has been talking about raising interest rates for years, but as the markets are weakening, as the rates go up, Trump is saying the Fed's raising rates too fast. Powell is now backtracking. First, it was that we were going to have less rate hikes next year or this year in 2019 as expected. Some more recent comments that they may pause even earlier than expected, which at some point you would think will lead back to lowering interest rates or more quantitative easing or both. So fascinating to see that, again, the Fed is actually commenting on it, of course, not doing anything about it. Similar to the government, we've seen debt ceiling debates. Yet each time the debt ceiling comes, it's just raised while saying it would be irresponsible to default on the debt, so we have to raise it, which is really in my opinion, a misleading way of phrasing things because now you don't have to default on the debt if you don't raise the debt ceiling. You could just stop spending more than you're taking in, yet that doesn't happen. So some of these comments take with a grain of salt from Washington or the Federal Reserve about whether they're actually going to do anything. Yet interesting that they point out the need to do something, although the longer this need exists and is ignored, you end up with more debt, more printed money in a system that is already about as fragile as it could be, which again is why I talk so much about the value of owning gold and silver, especially with prices on the low end relative to what's actually happening in the world. So if you are interested in purchasing precious metals, as always, you can do that by calling Miles Franklin at 1-800-822-8080. And if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments below. Always look forward to seeing those, and we will see you again soon.